Okay, everyone, here we go. Gonna make my marinade now. This is for the pork tenderloin that I've put together. If I can find the thing, here it is. So here's my pork that I've sliced up. I went with some elongated pieces since they were fairly frozen. So what I have here is, to begin with, I have roughly a half cup of soy sauce. Put that in there. A third of a cup of Worcestershire sauce. Some people like to say Worcestershire. Sometimes that's fun, sometimes not so much. In here, as you can see, I have 3 dry ingredients. Right here is the garlic powder. Here is the onion powder, and then you see the black pepper. That's they're all just slightly more than 1/8 of a teaspoon. Put that in there. I also have a third of a cup of brown sugar. Put that in there. And then finally, I have liquid smoke. Typically, I'll start out with a half a teaspoon, or excuse me, a half a tablespoon. If I can find it here. I don't have one, so I'm going to use this one. And the reason why I start out with a half is because sometimes the smoke can be a little overpowering, and we don't want that to happen. So we'll start out with a half there. And then occasionally, as you can see here, sometimes I'll put in some Tabasco. I'm going to see how this tastes prior to doing that. Get your normal household whisk. What we want to do is we want to make this marinade in advance, because what happens is all the dry ingredients tend to stay separated as they are right here on top, and even though you mix them up, sometimes they tend to float or they'll sink to the bottom. What we want here is we want a good melding of all the flavors. So we're going to go ahead and mix this up. Obviously you don't want to make a huge mess here. And then what we'll do at this point is we'll get ourselves a teaspoon and we'll have a taste. I always taste my marinades. With marinades, what you want to do is, particularly when you're making a beef jerky, you want the flavors to be tasty, but you also want them to be strong, because what happens is when it starts getting into the meat, it tends to lose some of its punch. So what we want is we want a nice, strong, flavored beef jerky. So we want to make sure that this tastes well. As you can see here, we have clean area. We're using clean utensils. Dip into my trusty teaspoon area, and basically all I do is, instead of trying to taste some, I just take a little bit on the spoon and see how I taste it. That's actually not bad. I think the smoke level is pretty good, the liquid smoke. I tend to like my jerky a little bit sweeter. This one has a nice flavor profile to it because of the fact that we used the Worcestershire sauce. A lot of marinades that I make, I don't use it. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little bit spicy. So I'm going to add a tablespoon of my Tabasco sauce. I'm going to take this cover off here. There we go. Give it another shake now that we have that little thing off. You don't have to use this. You can certainly use red pepper flake. A lot of people do use that. I encourage red pepper flake. I just don't have any, so I'm going to use some Tabasco. There's my tablespoon. It's a little shy. That's okay. And now we're going to mix again, and we're going to give it a taste. And then we're going to wait 10 to 15 minutes before we put our marinade in with our meat. There again, we're letting our dry ingredients absorb some of the liquid and release the flavoring from the dry ingredients. Now we have a good mix here. Let's give it a taste. I can smell it. Ooh, that's really good. It's not spicy at all, but just has a little after note, which is terrific. I enjoy the flavor of Tabasco. I like Frank's Red Hot as well. Ooh, nice kick. Good. That'll be good. So what we're going to do is clean up a mess here. I'll see you in about 15 minutes. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. What we do now is, at this point, I take my pieces of meat, and I kind of want them spread about here in the liquid. And as you can see, the frozen pieces are on top. The pieces that I cut earlier during my show you how to process the meat, that stuff was earlier today. Those pieces aren't quite as symmetrical as the ones we have here now, but that's okay. So what you want to do at this point is you want to make sure you get all that stuff in there. All right, I'm going to get that in there. And then right away, we're going to take this, put this in the sink. Rinse some hot water. You can't see that, but that's okay. I also rinse my hands because the meat's been sitting. And then what we do is we want the marinade to touch all the meat. You want the marinade to touch it all, okay? You'll drop some pieces. You'll make a mess doing this. I kind of have a smaller bowl than is necessary for this. So you might, in the future, don't do what I do. Get a larger bowl. Usually makes more sense. You can certainly double this recipe. My suggestion is there's a lot of marinade recipes out there. There's a lot of jerky recipes. So what you want to do is you want to try and taste some of your own. Make your own. That's how I started. I tried using somebody else's, and they were good, but I wanted to add my own flavor. And I did a little research, and this guy uses a little bit of this guy uses a little bit of that. I wanted a little spice. So you can certainly take any ingredient from somebody else. This recipe, they have a lot of recipes that you can get from the Food Network and things like that. You can certainly use those as well. I have a couple of friends on Facebook. I'll give a shout out to Scott Lucchetti. He tends to make some jerky. I've yet to try any of his recipes, but he makes a lot, so I'm hoping to share this recipe with him, and hopefully he can maybe share some of the recipes on this channel with us as well. So what you want to do is, after you get all the meat all squared away and all mixed up and all seasoned, you want to push it down a little bit, and you want to get that under there as best you can. Rinse your hands, dry your hands using a towel. You want to clean up your mess. That's typically what I do. I make a mess when I do this stuff. And then my recommendation is you can use one of two things. I prefer the bowl, just easier for me. Some people prefer using Ziploc baggies. You can certainly do that and use your Ziploc. The freezer bags tend to work the best, given the fact that they have the double zipper. But I like using saran wrap, and basically all I do is I put it here, put it on top, and what you want to do is you want to make sure that it makes contact with the food and the liquid, and what that does is it removes a lot of the air, stops your meat from drying out, and it also keeps it all in the marinade. So that's how I prefer to do it. You can certainly do a number of different ways, but this is the way I like to do it. Put it in this bowl. I like this bowl as well because it's got handles, and you can certainly see how that works. And then what I'll do is I'll leave this out overnight in the fridge. Excuse me, I'll put it in the fridge overnight. And then what I'll do is I'll add it into my food saver bowl that you guys saw earlier, and then I use my marinade feature here. So tomorrow I will make I will show you the finished product when we put it in the food dehydrator. I also have some beef that's already ready, and I'll show that in another video. Thanks for watching. Take care.